done a booze. Okay, let's see. We've done a booze. Ooze. We did a despair. What the heck was that, Wade? You were responsible for writing the last one up, and I have no idea what it was.
Have you done the despair squid?
That's the despair squid.
I did not write up the despair squid. I think we decided not to do our usual writing up of the monster that was produced in the thing.
Okay.
That one.
That actually is the correct decision, because I was like, I don't know what the heck. All right. Good. All right. Maybe just there's a small chance that Ashley, I bet what happened is that Ashley said she was going to do it. Yes, that is exactly right.
So it's 11:01. Does that mean that everyone else can see us now?
So basically, everyone else is currently in the waiting room. So as soon as you're all ready to go, I'll switch off my camera, I'll mute myself, and I'll let everyone else in. So the Zoom screen will change, and you'll just see all of the people coming in.
Okay.
So are you okay to manage the chat as well? Because everyone's going to be pinging ideas around and stuff in the chat. So if you're okay to if you can watch that at the same time as doing this, then that would be cool.
Yes.
Yep. I think that's the plan.
Awesome. Okay. Well, then I shall mute myself and turn off my video and let everyone in. Okay. Video.
Hey, there's everybody.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to the 13th Age Monster Workshop for Gen Con 2020, an event that takes place in cyberspace. For this session, we are going to design a monster. We're going to walk through the process of kind of ideating and brainstorming a monster for the 13th Age tabletop role-playing game with our esteemed panel of designers and developers for the 13th Age RPG. And after some initial remarks and some questions about design principles, we're going to turn this into a kind of structured but also kind of free-form brainstorming session, at the end of which we hope to have a solid concept for a monster that we could actually stat up for the game. So we will be taking your suggestions. We'll be throwing out prompts, which we hope that you will answer in chat and contribute your ideas, and then we'll kind of add them into the mix to make a big, gloopy, beautiful stew. Yeah, sure, we'll go with that.
That was the Boozoos.
Yeah, literally gloopy last year.
That's right.
So I'm Wade Rockett. I co-authored the 13th Age Game Masters resource book and was a contributor to the 13th Age Bestiary 2. I also edited and developed the 13th Age Midgard Bestiary for Kobold Press. On my left, is Liz Argall.
Hello!
Hey, Liz. Liz was also one of our monster designers for the 13th Age Bestiary 2, and she worked on Geist 2nd Edition for Onyx Path. She received the Best New Designer Award at Phenomenon and is a science fiction author, playwright, poet, and cartoonist. Also, AnneMarie Boeve is a 13th Age designer who is working on the upcoming tabletop RPG Paths, World of Adia, or possibly Adia. For Smunchy Games, she writes fantasy and science fiction and runs a campaign set in her homebrew setting of Four Corners. Hi, AnneMarie. Also, J.M. DeFoggi is the line developer for 13th Age. He hosts the iconic podcast and is also the lead writer for Myth, Tales of Legend, and the writer-designer of Jackal's Bronze Age Fantasy.
Hey.
Say hello to these nice people, JM.
Hello to the nice people.
And last but not least, we have an exciting up-and-coming talent in the RPG industry. Rob Heinsoo is the co-designer of the 13th Age role-playing game and its line producer. His other games, which you may have heard of, include Dungeons & Dragons 4th Edition, Three Dragon Ante, and the upcoming WrestleNomicon.
You know, you're reminding me, like, the first time my best friend Jonathan Tweed introduced me at Wizards of the Coast, he introduced me as a wannabe. It was like, well, I guess that was true enough, you know, and I suppose that I've been cruel to Jonathan ever since. So there we go.
Entirely appropriate.
Up-and-coming talent.
The first time I met Jonathan, I greeted him as, "Oh, hi, Rob Heinsoo." And he slapped me. It was kind of perfect.
This got dark really quickly. So welcome to the Monster Workshop.
I think I was even meaner to Jonathan for a little bit. I didn't mean to be. I just kept remembering him as the name of his dog's dad.
Oh wow.
Wait a minute.
Hold on.
Wait, what?
I was just like, oh, it's Daisy's dad.
It's Daisy's
dad. An amazing dog.
Oh, you're totally right. I'm
Daisy's dad.
Daisy's dad.
Father of famous dog Daisy.
Did you know Tessa Tweed at the time? No. Did you know Tessa?
Only once or twice.
Because the thing is, it would have worked the same way if you'd known Tessa. Calling him Tessa's dad also. Same deal. Okay. Well, all right. So now that we've picked on the person who's not here, that's awesome.
Always a good start.
Yeah.
I would like to ask the audience, and audience, please have a look at the bottom of your Zoom window, and you will see reactions. And if you click on that, there are thumbs up and claps. I would like a thumbs up from anyone who is currently a 13th Age Game Master. Can we get a thumbs up on that?
JM's still looking. I know he hasn't found the reactions yet. There we go.
Got distracted by the chat and just kind of...
Yeah. Okay.
How can we get a thumbs up? Who is a player but not a game master?
But not. Okay.
I am seeing... Oh, we got a couple.
I like to play more than I like to GM it. It's so much fun.
I also like the people who are able to point towards other people next to them.
Yes.
The Rogers clan, yes. I'm voting for her.
Somebody asked, can you see the reactions if you're just in chat, not the video? No, the thumbs up appears next to your video little thumbnail. So that's what I'm looking at here. But we have a not insignificant number of players here. Thank you. Yes, we got to vote for GM. And also, finally, who is a professional 13th Age designer or aspires to be one? Excellent. All right, so it feels like mostly GMs, maybe. Oh, Rob aspires to be a designer. Excellent. We hope that this session will be helpful to you.
Okay, good. Thank you. I think it will. I've been learning a lot lately.
All right. So, Rob, I think it might be helpful and illuminating for our audience and the rest of us if you talk a bit kind of about first principles, since you are an experienced designer, lead designer, creator of RPGs, and line producer. If you're a GM and or a pro designer, what do you think you should keep in mind when you think, oh, I'm going to design a new monster now? What's your North Star?
North Star. Okay, well, I'm going to say one for sure. There may be others. I'm not too systematic about this. The biggest important thing is that if you're designing a new monster, for some reason you've decided to do something that people are going to have fun with. And those people should definitely include the players, and it may or may not also include the game master. The players are probably more important, but the game master's fun it's also there. There's a couple ways to think about fun. One of the ways of fun that's important is actually rolling dice at the table and thinking about what the experience is going to offer that is different. Another type of fun is mental fun. I remember Greg Stafford saying that, what was the original thing he was talking about? I think he was talking about a specific like anthropology or some aspect of anthropology, and he said that it was good for thinking. It wasn't necessarily right. It wasn't but it made your brain do interesting things as you approached it. So sometimes, because monsters only appear once or twice at the table and they aren't there for that long, you can actually, the experience of rolling the dice is interesting, but also just experience of making people think in a slightly different way about something. And instead of trying to provide an overview, it occurred to me when I saw that you were going to ask me this question, I thought about a monster I was working on this morning. And it's one that Stephen Borzay had written, a cool Hellhound Wrangler who works for the Crusader. And I looked at it and I was like, okay, this is good. And then I started thinking, but can we make it better? And Stephen did an awful lot of really cool monsters for icon followers. And in a lot of them, I think he used the process that I'm about to talk about. With a Hellhound Wrangler, obviously there aren't a lot of other Hellhound Wranglers in the game already. Also, there aren't a lot of people running around with monsters on leashes. And so the first thing I had to think was, well, wait a minute, what's different about this monster that has never really been done before, and how can we make that a thing? And so the answer quickly was, the Hellhound is either leashed or unleashed. People can see that. It's really visceral. If it's leashed, here's the kind of stuff that happens. It doesn't attack as well. It doesn't even defend itself as well, but it's got a lot more defense for the person who's wrangling it. If it's unleashed, oh my God, it's crazy, it's dangerous, oh no. But also, if it rolls a 1 or a 2 or a 19 or 20, it gets a little bit out of control. And if it happens twice, it's way out of control. Now, why is that fun? Well, it's fun because the game master has an interesting choice to make. And because if you make it really, really different, the players know, oh no, it's off the leash. And also you add something in where the players have some input. Like if you let people know, hey, every time this thing fails to save, it actually goes more out of control. Then you're telling player characters, burn up your save effects trying to make this thing go out of control. So this battle's different. It gives the players some actually almost clear instructions on how to fight it. And mission accomplished. It's something new and unique that's actually going to be on your table once or twice.
I have a question about that, if I could.
Yes, we have a question from Brennan.
Yeah. So, Rob, how are you telegraphing that? Are you flat out telling players that, or are you giving them some other indicators that that's the truth?
Probably you get to choose. Either you have 2 or 3 of them in a fight. Like imagine that if you have 2 or 3 in a fight, the first one does exactly what it's going to do, and it's not very smart of you to do it that way, but you do it, and then you tell people the difference between when the Hellhound was leashed and unleashed. Then they know, oh, that. And in a lot of cases in 13th Age, you're right. If you're going to, you have to tell people certain things that you wouldn't ordinarily tell them. And you can cheat about that, especially because you can do it when you have people who have an icon relationship with a Crusader. So that's the person who should get the information, and stuff like that. You use the backgrounds of the icon relationships to help to make it feel, say to the person.
You would know, you wouldn't.
Well, tell me as a person of the Crusader how you actually learned about these leashed Hellhounds, and then that gets to play into the game.
Sure, thanks.
Yep.
And I gotta say that watching Rob GM is a masterclass in watching. I've been playing games for 36 years now, and seeing Rob GM stuff, he's really good at the little meta bit of information and using an excuse to give somebody a tidbit. It's really, I really like it. He'll be like, I'm gonna give you this little bit because of this thing, meta. Mostly about good game experience, but I'm going to frame it within a story and a hook. So if you ever have a chance to see Rob, are you going to do some live GMing sometime? I'm just being naughty with the panel, but
actually,
I think people could learn a lot watching you GM.
Okay, sure.
If you go to the 13th Age resource page, and if you can find that also by Googling 13th Age resource page, there should be links to audio files where Rob ran 13th Age for the employees and hosts of a radio show here in Seattle, and so you can hear Rob in action, kind of going through 13th Age very early in the game's release, so people had not heard it yet.
Right,
it's very instructive.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Liz. I always act like I'm a really sadistic game master, and I act like I'm against the player characters in order to make the people's fun higher when they manage to beat me. Simultaneously, when you can like deliver those pieces of information in a way that also gets the other player characters to then mock that person later on, and, that's what I find frequently adds the most. I don't know. It happens. I haven't been doing much live playing, but since I've now finally figured out how to run games online and am having really fun time doing it, I feel that certainly seems possible. So.
Now, I will say also, Rob as a player is a lot of fun to watch, especially when he gets to play a duck Humakti. That was
from 13th Age.
I was going to say that was 13th Age Girl Answer. You need to invite me into this game. How do I get into this game? Sounds amazing.
Aren't we all asking that? How do we get into this game? JM, since you spoke up, I'd like to ask you a question.
Sure.
So you are the line developer for 13th Age. In fact, you and I are working very closely together on the upcoming adventure Crown of Axis.
Which I'm very excited about.
Me too. I'm very glad. So in that role, what are some common pitfalls that you see designers for this particular game falling into, or just common design pitfalls?
I think they really kind of fall into one of two things. I think for me, not seeing enough sort of like in stories ties to icons, like why are we making this new monster and how does it fit sort of into the Dragon Empire? Mechanically, the things that we've sort of seen recently, and I've only been doing this a very little while, but in general, it's either oversimplifying a monster power. And what I mean by that is there are certain things that are kind of very evocative in sort of the F20 space, but 13th Age has a very clear and precise sort of writing style when it comes to how monster powers work. And so like powers that like swallow PCs, we all love them. Like at least thematically, we're like, these are really cool powers, or powers that remove a PC from a fight to go do this other awesome thing. They're great ideas, but a lot of times we have to build a lot more framework around like the initial vision of the power, because like 13th Age, we want to make sure it's spelled out well for the GM. And as Rob said, is it fun for the players and fun for the GM to sort of run? The other thing is, and this is something that I struggled with a lot, and Rob has beaten me over the head with the core rulebook to ensure that I understand this. The numbers that in the do-it-yourself monsters are designed to sort of be maybe not an average, but sort of your starting point. And so a lot of times I will make a monster way weaker because I think that it should be weaker, as opposed to dropping it down a level or increasing. If I drop hit points, are its defenses going up? Is it supposed to be weaker? Maybe I should make it a weakling. That sort of thing. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I mean, I see all the time in the 13th Age GM community people saying, when I put together a battle using the DIY monster rules, it feels weak. And it's like, well, that is a fair fight. And maybe you want an unfair fight.
Yeah,
either
going
way.
up from there, like it's a good starting point. Like moving up from there.
Yeah. Excellent.
In the early days, the truth is, we weren't, how to say it, even at our table, we weren't that good at playing the game. And so the original math is definitely for parties that aren't necessarily cooperating that well. And if you if you have a party of extremely experienced players who are all like locked in about what they want to do, using the exact fair fight math will mean that they have a pretty easy time nearly all the time, I think.
And I think the other thing is, if it's fun at your table, as Rob said, some of like when we design monsters, they're going to come up maybe once, twice in the arc of a story that we're running. And if you're having fun with it, your players are having fun with it, that's great. So some of the development side of things are, I get a really cool power, again, like eating, or that's just the one that's on the top of my head, like swallowing a PC. And it's like, yes, this is a lot of fun. And probably during a play test, it ran just the way the GM saw it in their head. But we have to build out a little bit more framework if we're going to say, hey, every GM can use this monster. And we want to make sure that it works well within both the feel of the battle and sort of the feel of the 13th Age mechanics.
We have a question in chat from Adam, who asks, is there some summary or document of the fair fight math? And that would be the DIY monster chart and the 13th Age core book, and probably every book after that. We try to surface it as much as possible, as well as the building battles chart.
Mm-hmm.
Would that be accurate?
Right there, Liz has it up.
Oh, hey, there you go. So yes,
and Sylvia had just mentioned in the chat that she sort of, for experienced players, she oftentimes runs 1.2 to 1.7 for about for what's actually kind of a fair fight. And I think, honestly, JM, when we did all the crazy building battles tables for shards, especially as you get more than 4 PCs on the table, we absolutely went to those numbers because it just wasn't. It's just not interesting to run shards with the DIY with the exact fair fight numbers. And 1.2, 1.7, I really agree with about that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or just always use nastier specials. Those are
like you always do.
They're defaults for me. I don't understand.
It feels like you're wasting the designer's time if you don't go ahead and use everything that's been created, right?
Right.
Tell your player characters that.
Yeah, nastier specials often tend, as a new GM to 13th Age, I was like, oh, I don't want to unleash that on my players. So now it's like, look at these beautiful toys. Yes, yeah. I want to unleash these on my players. They'll have fun. And speaking of fun, you know what's fun is designing a monster collaboratively. So we're at about the 20-minute mark. So let's shift into phase 2 of this, and we will come up with a monster for 13th Age in this very chat. So I'd like to start by kicking it off to Liz. Liz, what's the first question that we're going to ask our audience to start with getting an idea of what we're going to do today?
Okay, audience, so we get to put into place Rob's advice straight away in terms of player experience. And so have a think about what kind of new experience do you want to give the players when we create this monster? Another way to think about it when I'm brainstorming and going, what am I going to come up with for bestiary and other things is, one way you can think about it is what sort of weird anecdote could this monster generate when people are telling this story in the pub to their friends? Which might explain some of my ideas that have come through to you. So let's see.
We have one suggestion for an
great.
Make the players
Anglerfish as a concept. Prismic spray powers, something with swarming. Land shark. Remember when the mosquito fae drank your blood and entered a frenzy? Ooh, that could use mobs. And it goes to show, like,
but can we please use smells of cookies? I like that one.
Yeah, reading that one.
Talk it to death. That could be. Do the players have to talk it to death, or does the monster talk the characters to death?
I think I feel a little bit like there's this ideas are coming in.
Everyone in the audience gets to raise their hands.
That's right.
we try to include as many as we can.
So potentially, I'm seeing something that lures the players into chasing it, and swarms connecting to Fey Mosquito. Also, smell of cookies is something that would lure you in.
Yeah.
I love the connection with the senses a few times in different ways.
I'm terrified by the duck deep one hybrid. I just want to just call that out. That is going to give me nightmares, probably for the rest of the week. I see you. Yeah, that was awesome.
And kidnapping is an interesting thing in terms of a player experience, because I like the threat of that, but how would that be fun if the PC gets kidnapped, you know? Which is maybe related to the swallowing. It's like, yeah, it would be cool to be eaten by a monster until you're eaten by a monster and you're out of the game.
I wonder, would it, and this is where there's always a challenge of monster versus scenario design, because I could be like, you could almost imagine, like, you often want to keep traps separate. I could imagine like an anglerfish type cookie monster, deep one duck monster that, like, if it wanted to collect them all, then it wouldn't be like I grabbed one and now I go away and now the party is split. If it wants to, like, inseminate itself with everybody.
Does it lure in adventurers and kidnap them because it's like a Pokemon collector?
That's just what I was thinking, Wade.
Pick them all?
That's very meta.
But I mean, there's like a genre tradition of like, I wish to add you to my collection.
Yeah, and there's also all those giants hanging out on the cloud break, the clouds, just with nothing to do, except, you know, occasionally looking down below at little tiny people like miniatures.
I mean, that could be how the encounter starts. If people are having a boring travel, it's a little bit Deus Ex Machina, but come to this new land.
Sylvia suggested, what if the collector's a living dungeon that lures you in?
Stay a while, stay forever.
Collector is a living dungeon that lures you in with prismatic sprays.
Smell like cookies.
Worms, smell of cookies. Like, okay.
With a land shark in its digestive system.
I'm gonna mute myself for a while.
Was it Tekamu?
Not a monster.
I'm evading responsibility.
I mean, you could go for that kind of old-fashioned witch's brew kind of idea, as you're just luring them in. Maybe the dungeon itself is cookies.
Sure.
So you have like a Hansel and Gretel. It's like, you know, the house.
I mean, if players see that there's a gingerbread house, they're probably going to run away. How do we get them?
Alternatively,
it smells so good.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, do you have to roll a save to like not enter the dungeon?
Probably.
Well, maybe this is how you limit it: is you make it a cottage rather than a whole dungeon, and that way you can have people banging on the windows on the outside, because most monsters, when they swallow you, don't have windows or doors. So that way you've still got interaction points. And that's like, they're often hard and fast rules of like, well, you don't want to do this, but then you're like, but there can be the exception sometimes. You can figure out.
Roland says you have to bring a real gingerbread house to the game and they only get to eat it if they enter.
I like it. And in virtual, it means everyone gets an entire gingerbread house.
I mean, the living dungeon, and, you know, you could have like a pair where it's a living dungeon is one, and then it's like keeper is the other together. So they kind of, you know, lure people in collectively.
Like a quantum entangled cottage.
Yeah.
Michael said high-level adventurers are unique and special and probably a great ingredient for a witch's rituals.
Turn the ritual spellcasting sort of against the PCs. You are the ingredients.
Yeah.
And what Sylvia just said gave me an idea for meta mischief, which is, because I have a soft spot for themed episodes as well. And there's nothing quite like playing like cheesy Christmas carols at your players for 4 hours on a loop.
There is nothing like that.
And so you could possibly even say, well, players, you can get a bonus and get an extra something if you consent to 4 hours of holiday music.
Well, we have some questions that we ask typically in order to make this 13th AG. So shall we turn to those and see if those answers keep us on the track with like monster that lures you into itself because it's delicious and tries to collect you?
I also want to say something that might help a little bit.
Yes, please.
I mean, there was something. Okay, JM, in Elven Towers, the book that we've just been working on, there was a moment where, you tick off one of the NPCs by not giving them the right secrets. And we had these little notes in there going, so do we really? I guess we're going to add another battle with ettercaps and spiders. And we had so little appetite for adding that battle that finally realized, no, what we need to do is make something else that happens much worse. Something that's connected to secrets. If you tick those people off, you never know about it. It's just that it happens later, and oh my God, it ain't great for you. And in this particular case, this is starting to sound like a battle that everybody knows that heroes win battles. I mean, the number of times that these type of heroes go into the fight and they just get killed. It feels like the experience of what's happening here, like whatever it is that's attracting the player characters, it isn't expecting to, quote, win. It's expecting to do as much do damage or get them to burn out a whole lot of power or get them to kill something for it. Like, or become an exhibit, but it's not necessarily a death is the goal. I think that because if player characters also know, maybe if the player characters realize that part of the way through, that death isn't the goal of what the monster's doing, that then they become more likely to be willing to go ahead and become part of the trope. It's like gingerbread house. If you're going to use that model, it's like, yeah, we're going in because we're going to get something out of this, and the possible outcome is horrible, freaking embarrassment, perhaps, but it ain't death. I don't know. So.
Yeah, and I love that. And it's like, does it operate off sucking out people's magic essence somehow and doing something transformative, or is it more mundane in that it likes to attract other monsters it has a digestive system and it needs just like birds swallow rocks. It's like its crop. It just needs stuff broken down into smaller pieces.
Well, there is a weird part of it needs to attract the enzymes. Like if the monsters are one form of food, then the player characters are the enzymes that break those down.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we've had some interesting suggestions in chat that.
I'm sorry, good, because I haven't been watching.
Somebody said, maybe the expenditure of powers nourishes it. Somebody said maybe the treasure is its eggs and it wants them to be carried out to spread. I'm thinking like maybe that could be both. But I also like the idea of that it has. Somebody said that the monster dungeon has a tummy ache and these are the tums. So it wants you to come in and clear out the monsters that are bothering it.
Oh God!
But like the idea of yes, it somehow makes the PCs a natural part of itself. It's like, yes, these are enzymes, these are antiviruses, these are bees that carry my pollen out into the world after they come in and defeat me, quote unquote. Those are interesting ideas.
It eats all the abilities they don't use, but gives back the ones they don't use, but gives back the ones that they do use, probably.
Oh, God.
Is that like a chance to re-roll repick some stats?
We had that monster in Book of the Underworld where it fed off your backgrounds, and so it would take your background away and give you sort of a used up one. So you would forget for a time that you were, the Orc Lord's assassin and
become a halfling latrine collector.
That's right.
Yeah. It eats memories. Memories. That's mechanically it eats the background or steals.
Well, we sort of played with that the last monster we did, actually.
We definitely did. Yeah.
And so I'd rather not. Yeah, don't then do. Okay, I would rather not do that one precisely again. But maybe there's enough different going on here that my head is spinning. So yeah. So I interrupted because Wade asked a question, which was icon related. And
yeah,
or,
we have. How does it fit into the Empire? How does it relate to the icons? What tier is it? And I think maybe we might be in a place where we consider those things.
I'm looking at a map. Excuse me.
Yeah. Oh wait, I have a map. Hold on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, right here.
you guys, what do you think? Like, what icons do you think would have a lot of fun? You know, if the High Druid is messing around with it, it's going to be very different to if the Diabolist. You know, maybe there are several manifestations of this organic being.
Yeah, so in terms of icon relationships, we have the 3 because magic,
Life cycle.
but the Elf Queen because Fae. Prince of Shadows is Prince of Shadows is good. Archmage.
We've got High Druid is trying to insert a natural life cycle into unnatural nature of living dungeons. Or Dwarf for Treasure would create a different motivation if it was an artifact instead or something.
Oh no, the Orc Lord needs meat for the horde. Now I'm picturing the monster as like a literal meat grinder.
Right.
extruding chopped up adventurers on the other side.
And there was an idea in the chat back there that went to a dark reality TV place where, there was the idea from Amp Jones around maybe your humiliation could be broadcast to the rest of the Empire somehow, which could be a misinformation kind of. If it was a dungeon of embarrassment as part of a misinformation campaign, or for the Prince of Shadows to draw attention to you.
I mean, I have access on the brain, so it's like, is this the hot new gladiatorial game where you enter this creature in search of prizes and glory? But it's not what anyone expects. Maybe even the people who are wrangling it.
Ginger Dome. Oh my gosh.
I just saw that.
I think we need to get
Actually,
grounded.
you know
in
what?
the
No, wait.
baking
The funniest. It's possible we may not need to stay grounded. I mean, the truth is, this is like turning into sort of a surreal psychedelic experience.
Oh no, beautiful! I'm just saying baking is important. We need to stay grounded in the baking.
Oh, I'm sorry. I misinterpreted the start of your sentence.
Yeah, no, I think we need to go wild with, Mary Berry's the keeper and.
Tied to a lost icon. Interesting. The Ginger Dome. It does feel to me like if it's some sort of gladiatorial contest setup, I think it ain't the Emperor.
Yeah.
It's not Axis. This is not feeling a whole lot all that imperial, so to speak.
Well, that might be the bait and switch. Is like, oh, this is a cool new interesting twist on the gladiatorial games, and yeah, the Emperor's cool with it, but it turns out it is actually a plot by other icon.
Somebody wrote gnomes. Oh, it was Michael.
I mean, I could see it in one of the rubble hoods in Drakkenhall. Something like this, a house that you would just sort of sits innocuously and eats people who sort of go by. Maybe the Smash Society sends people to look at it.
I love it being in Drakkenhall, and I love the idea that maybe it is a creature that has been developed by gnomes in Drakkenhall as an attempt to build their own icon.
Well, it could be a leftover. It could be it could be a leftover in a weird way. Drakkenhall has all those ruins. Mm-hmm. And the truth is that either it's a leftover down there or the gnomes have disguised it as a leftover. It's only
really stale house.
It cycles on in a certain sense, and then it's off. Like, it's going to be off for a long time because it isn't always attracting people. That doesn't work. So
it goes dormant.
Yeah, it goes dormant. And by the way, AnneMarie wrote the Smash Society, right? So we're talking about, and they sound like this. I'm sorry, AnneMarie, about this. It's going to sound nasty. They sound like the perfect freaking patsies for sending people into this. I mean, oh my God. Yeah, get your medallion. Go find the gnomes are like, we make those medallions cheap. Huh. You know, it's true. I like the idea of gnomes. I'll just say it. I like the idea because the truth is we just really haven't done almost anything with gnomes. You know, it's like maybe someday we get to Concord and we do a Mosaic book about Concord, and then there's tons of stuff about gnomes. You know, but at the moment, do players please turn off your audio? All the players turn off your audio. You know, in Book of the Underworld, Gar's got the really cool. Oh yeah, that would actually. Gar's got the cool magical thing underneath the other thing that's run by gnomes. Yeah, and I could see those guys actually doing. I could see those guys. Like it totally feels a little bit. Look, it feels a little bit like a Harry Potter stunt gone awry, right? And so I'm pretty sure that's exactly what the Magical Academy under Burrow is.
So Wade had a question on what is the Smash Society. Do you want to just briefly, like high level? Yeah.
Right. Hello. So Smash Society is a secret treasure hunting society that's holed up somewhere, someplace, somehow in Drakenhall. If you want to be a member, you have to find it first. And so it's partially finding this kind of bootleggy type secret society, and then you have to go through some sort of rites in order to be able to become a member. And once you become a coin-carrying member, you're supposed to earn additional respect among the other monsters of Drakenhall. So you'll be there might be a slight less chance you'll get mugged while you're just walking down the streets. Maybe.
Okay.
And maybe you'll have really high-level monsters gunning for you because, hey, you're Smash Society.
Yeah.
I want to. I mean, this is everything. Everything that is being said is awesome and cool and fun. So how is this a monster? I mean, we're coming up with cool dungeon ideas, I think.
Well, I was like,
but what's the monster?
I don't know if any of you guys have you seen Return to Oz? Because in Return to Oz, it is a different Dorothy. There's a lot more attempted electroshock therapy at the beginning, and part of it there's the Gnome King and the gnomes, and all the gnomes are actually like weird claymation entities in the wall. So they're like, with a desperate allergy to eggs will make them melt. So like they get to be this like collective weird multitude of faces and stuff like that. So they can open and close doors and stuff like that. So
are you thinking? Are you thinking there's been a terrible gnomish disaster, and the leftover gnomes are like? Well, somebody wrote something about Voltron, but I don't know that that's it's sort of a Voltron gone awry.
There's kind of a mythos trope occasionally of like people being merged together in horrifying ways and becoming monstrous. So it could be like a horrific mass.
Yeah, we just don't really have enough monstrous gnomes.
Yeah, and I've always, because of Dragonlance, I've always loved gnomes as the mad scientist explorers heading off to the moon. So, yeah, like if they were like, well, we want to create something, whether it's the super festive gingerbread house or some kind of, iconic transference, blah, blah, blah thing, we could even put several possible origin stories on it. So maybe part of their agenda is, if enough stuff happens inside the gingerbread house, maybe some of them can recuperate or something. I don't know. I love the idea of horrible accident.
This like mini adventure dungeon thing where the gnomes actually were tiny enough they could kind of burrow their ways in and out of walls. And all they would do is just harass players constantly. They would open up teeny tiny doors and just chuck things at people and then shut their little door and run away. And over time, they were actually secretly trying to lure all the players towards the center of the dungeon itself, where there was this kind of larger thing that wanted to actually feed on them. But the whole time, they're just getting constantly just like bothered, essentially. Just getting like chocolate chips just chucked at them, essentially. Just to kind of keep on luring them towards the center.
Bakery.
Yeah. Monsters of different levels. So maybe these are monstrous gnomes of different levels, or just different types, from weaker to stronger, that have different functions in this gnomish process of luring you in and then murdering you or tricking you into using your powers in order to accomplish something magical. Ooh.
Yeah.
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 You're a part of the gnomish experiment, or you are being used by the gnomish experimenters who had something terrible happen to them.
It does read like poor Archmage, so powerful, so prone to having wizards who do terrible, terrible things that get out of control. And the idea that there's an awful lot of interesting little gnome, different types of gnome. Like at the start, the player characters don't even realize it's gnomes. As they're going in deeply, they're like, this is weird. People with little pointed hats throwing things at us out of walls. And yeah, that could work. It does sound like a dungeon with several different monsters.
Mm.
Now, thank God, given that we were originally given prismatic sprays and everything else. What is the goal? What was the goal? What was the goal? I mean, right now, gnomes are like these cute little people who practice magic and talk to badgers.
Maybe it was to ascend to iconhood and produce a new gnomish icon, and things went horribly wrong. Is a suggestion that somebody made.
Mm-hmm.
How about we have even more fun with that, and we make it a potentially... Is it more fun to have a potential new icon where things have already gone wrong, or to have a old icon that things have definitely gone wrong?
Whatever happened to the Gnome King?
Whatever happened to the Gnome King? I think that's yes. Is it a Gnome King? Is it the head chef? I don't know.
No, it's the Grand Artificer.
The Grand Artificer?
Mm.
Mm.
I mean, maybe if you make it to the end of the dungeon, then all these gnomes just assume that you are the one that's in charge now. So then you become the new icon. But just
that does strike me as a particularly horrific fate. The dungeon is not trying to kill you. It's trying to see which of you needs to be promoted.
Oh.
Whoa.
Oh, no.
And player characters don't know that. That's...
Then you're saddled with all of the gnome prayers for the rest of the age, and that just seems like an awful prize.
I think in a weird way, it can't be adventurer tier unless you.
Mm-hmm.
No.
It could be champion tier, because it could be, if it's epic, then it's too much like this is the finale of the campaign. Congratulations! I know you thought you were like really in with the Great Gold Worm, but now. You're the new queen of the gnomes. Good luck with that.
The gnomes shall rise.
The gnomes shall rise. I mean, it's actually a massive... It's kind of one of those things where you have to like get consent a little bit.
Eric in chat said, "Golden Bow, King must die." So maybe it's like, oh, congratulations, you're our new icon.
You're the new icon. Don't worry, you don't have to have any twisted place like this. You can go out in the rest of the world, and then, of course, things happen.
Or present the Heinsoo bargain of, you could be the head of the gnomes, but here's what that means.
That's right.
Oh, they wouldn't take it from me. Well, actually, wait. I have one player who would.
I think this is nice in terms of like what the creative process is like. At least for me, like my brain will start running out. There'll be like this whole scenario that will build out in my head and different possibilities. And then I'll be like, that's not a monster. That's not a 13th age experience. That's me having a bunch of fun. So then you do all the ideating, and then there's the editing process where you're like, what are the slices that I can put out that create little discrete experiences? So in my head, I've got people going through, wherever, and they're doing all these different things. But now if I just focus on these moments, other people can create even more brilliant connected tissue.
Oh, okay. I do. Do you become a gnome? I mean, or is there going to be a redefin? Oh, well, that's.
But I think if they had the option, like at the end, if like Achilles, they can choose to. I don't know how the trust relationship would go.
If you're going to be really twisted about this, I mean, the fact is that when you're the new king of the gnomes and this is an epic tier, like, come on, we're doing something that you're going to use once in a campaign ever, and maybe in one campaign only ever. So then, whatever that player character is like, all the gnomes start becoming like. And I don't know. That's so crazy. It's
so this is where in 13th Age we say
there's lots of options.
What happens when you become the new gnome icon? It's like, here are options. It could be a horrible Cyberman-like fate where you are sealed into like the gnome artificer's armor for eternity, or it could be awesome. You have an army of gnomes, or it could be whimsical.
Congratulations, you are the no god.
Yeah,
that's terrifying.
Hope you like stories about Garl Glittagold.
Yes. So it sounds like we have a set of monsters who are monstrous gnomes, and they have a plot that they are luring adventurers in, and the gnomish monsters serve to both test you and drive you deeper in until a final confrontation that resolves something that the gnomes want resolved.
And in fact, they probably don't kill you that often.
Yep.
But they might, if they're going to kill a PC, I would suggest they alter that PC a bit. Just a bit. It could be temporary. It could be until the end of the adventure. The thing is, I don't want to alter PCs forever, but the truth is, if you're not trying to kill the PCs, you're definitely doing something to them that makes the gameplay experience different for a while.
It would be interesting to tie that to like death saves and say, all right, so if you hit 0, this happens. If you fail 1 death save, you become more gnome-like as they kind of take you through this process. And death isn't the final outcome. You have now been fully processed by the house. And
the weird part about it is that like it's going to turn out that the new gnome icon is the failure who died.
Right.
Congratulations.
And well, the beautiful thing is now we've created a release mechanism for why wherever people are, they always get released by it, because, gnomes are forward thinkers and they've got this kind of thing. If you hit a fail point, whatever fail criteria they've decided or you declare or whatever, like the house might spit you out at that point. Like, go on, level up. We've pushed you as far as we can. You didn't make it through RuPaul's Drag Race, but maybe we'll see you in All Stars. And so then there could be like a haunted gingerbread house that they can meet up with, and it's Anglerfish decoy representatives.
Something other than gingerbread. We just have to use gingerbread is so our world, and so like we just need a different bread stuff, a different baked good, a different fruitcake. Okay,
actually, it's a very ancient dish.
So we'll call it ancient elder fruit cake. Okay.
It is the oldest fruit cake. It has been here forever.
No,
isn't that all fruit cake?
Fruit cake.
Yeah.
No. Okay. Exactly. All right. I'm going to shut up because that's fine.
Shortbread.
That'll work.
Well, we have about 5 minutes left.
Only. Whoa. Okay.
No.
Okay. So the one thing I just want to say, Smash Society dude or adventurous, like taking their medal and going and then coming back as the Gnome King. Yeah, that's good.
And in terms of like writing this up and how things happen, is it going to be just like one of the characters, monsters they might experience as a slice, and then the people who came to this know all the secret backstory? Or
no. If we create this, one of us is going to volunteer to push their brain through the gnome shredder. I see JM raising his finger to his nose, and I think that means he volunteered.
That's not it. That's the universal symbol for not it.
I thought you were pointing to yourself.
I ran a session of 13th Age where the deep gnomes took over the PC's home base, and it so traumatized my players that we do not speak of that session until the one gnome NPC comes up and reminds them of it. So it might be, maybe JM and I can maybe JM can be my lifeline to sanity.
I'll help you noodle that.
By the way, is the Zoom group chat? Do we have the saved? Like, is this something that we get saved? Because there are so many jokes in here that I can't even process them all at the moment. Like, we're making sure we get this. I think we can export it. Kat says we can export it.
We totally can, yeah.
All right, good. And should we say it's part of recording? Good. All right. Yeah, because I seem to remember Nyarlathothoth Quack.
Yep, I saw that. That was great.
Several
the
others.
House always wins.
Yeah, there's too much.
Go down into the chat and click on the little kebaby 3 dots. You should get a safe chat.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
We're learning things every day. Yay! Yeah. All right, Wade, I interrupted you again. Every time you try to be a moderator, go.
Thank you, Rob. Before we depart, I would like to ask our respective participants, panelists, where folks can find them online, and if there's anything they'd like to plug, starting with JM.
Oh, okay. You can find me on Twitter at DeFoggiJM, or on the Iconic Podcast. We do 13th Age podcast every 2 weeks or so. And something to plug. I have a Open Quest Bronze Age fantasy game coming out here shortly, and so it's called Jackals. I'm a giant ancient Near East history nerd, so it is...
Wait, PhD?
No, it's just Masters. PhD someday. I know.
All right.
Trisha was like, "You got to pay off the Masters before you can go for your doctorate." I'm like, that seems like a totally reasonable request. But yeah, we've got the Mosaic books coming out for 13th Age, which I know were talked about on the Pelgrane panel. I'm working on those. I'm very excited about those books. We have contributors here who have contributed to those, and yeah.
All right, awesome. AnneMarie, how about you?
You can find me on Twitter at AnnieDisaster09. And also, if you come and join us over at Smunchy Games, over at their Discord, you can find me there pretty often as well. Their first we just finished up a thing on a card game called Frey in Path's World of Adia in that IP. And their book and everything else is set to be coming out at the beginning of next year.
Type your contact info into the chat. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you do. Liz, how about yourself?
So the best place to look at all my stuff is at lizargall.com. Lizargall.com. How it's spelt up there. That's probably the best place to launch off. I have a separate website for my webcomic, thingswithout.com, which is all ages and pretty good fun. And I have a Patreon it's mostly comics. And I'm in 13th Age Beastery if you want to. It's a fun book, and some other upcoming 13th Age stuff. Stay tuned. I think there's some pretty sweet stuff coming out, I think.
Agree.
I'm pretty excited and stoked.
Right. Rob?
Yeah, you can find me at robheinsoo.blogspot.com. And that same name at Rob Heinsoo on Twitter. And I've got a game called WrestleNomicon, which is a game of monsters, elder gods, wrestling, professional, that is somehow being shipped to the United States, I think, right now. Coming out from Arc Dream, card game. And 3 Dragon Ante got republished last year by WizKids, if people missed it. And that's 2 plugs.
All right. And you can find me at Wade Rockett on Twitter. My blog is Rocket Science with rocketscience.com with 2 T's. And I have a free games tab where you can download Lunch Hour Dungeon and the quick rules reference for the 1984 Avalon Hill RPG Lords of Creation for some reason. Thank you all so much. Thanks to the audience. Thank you for the participants. And have a fantastic rest of your Gen Con online.